Right, bodywork update. So I've been stripping off the paint, and it looks like what we've got is a white top coat, then a grey primer, then the red that it originally was, I believe, grey primer, and then under that is a what looks like an etch primer. Now I don't know what the white is, what sort of paint it is, but that sort of chips off quite easily and takes the primer with it. So I've been scratching that off. Now on the roof it's a little bit different. I've taken off most of the white. Then under that is a grey, and under that is an etch. And there doesn't seem to be any other colours under there. Is that showing something through? Maybe a focus. There's a white under the etch. But you'd expect to find a red or a black on here, wouldn't you? Anyway, so I've chipped all the white off, well, most of it. I'm leaving all this until the last minute. I've got to take the screen out, but it's safer where it is. Taking the white off, and then I've been sanding and using the grey primer as like a guide coat. And I've come across a dent here, which I sort of knew about that one. But some very fine dents here. And now I know where it is, I can feel it. I don't know if I'm smart enough to improve on that. Might make it worse. I should be able to make that one better. But I've got to take the headlining out, of course, to have a go at that. But I've watched enough videos on how to do it. But a low here and then a high here. But it looks like it wasn't blocked before, because you've got these funny sort of patterns showing through on the primer. But this is working quite well, because I can block this with 60 grit, which you can't really use 60 grit on your primer filler. And I think over this I'll put an epoxy high build primer, and then a blocking. That's the plan. There's a typical story here of what I'm faced with. Everywhere on the car is covered in filler, or Bondo for the American guys. This is the rear, just above the bumper, is the boot lid. And you can see how thick that filler is. And there is something going on here. It's a bit ripply. And I'm looking at this. This is a flat panel on top of the bumper. And this was plastered in filler from one end to the other. And you see all these gougy marks. There's a lot of that all over the car, and all over the car is covered in filler. So I think I might remake this. We'll see. It might be easier just to make a new one, because it's very ripply. And it doesn't fit properly, and somebody's brazed something on here. And this end is really floppy. But I'm going to get all this off first and see what shape I've got to make it. And I'm using because it's so thick, I'm using a hot air gun here, just to get the bulk of it off. And see what we've got left. There's a hole there, but I think there might be little holes here. So we'll get it all off and see what's going on. Right, all cleaned off pretty much. I can't get far enough back to show you here. You get a general idea. So I guess we got a hole here and a hole here for the Aron badge. Number plate here and here, I guess. That must be the wire for the number plate lamp. What these two are, I don't know. And these very strange two holes, one here and one here, which you'd think if it's going to rot, it would be under here, but that's solid. I think somebody's punched those in for some sort of access hole, but I don't know. Try and clean those up a bit and see if I can see inside what's going on. A bit ripply, really nice weld line here. Where's it gone? That's a long weld on this thin metal, that's very good. And there's some on the front wings as well. No real evidence of a shunt, but that's been hammered out by the look of it. And on the inside, the camera's going upside down now. So we're upside down here. We've got this plate on the back which stops you seeing the inside. And it's riveted on, and it looks like galvanised. I'm not sure if that's original or not. But I think I have to take that off. Do I, to access that hole? I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm going to take it off. It's only riveted across the top, and just one rivet at the bottom. Right, mystery solved on these two. These two were captive nuts to accept those two fixings. So it's not been fixed there since I've had it. That bolt is sheared off, you can just still see it, that's just a gaping hole. So I can sort something there. And I've got the panel off on the inside. I'm sure that panel is a replacement panel because that's galvanised. And a lot of repairs on this car being galvanised steel. Camera's upside down now. And that raised flange is very wavy, but that's original. No sign of any damage in the boot. And even that wavy panel doesn't surprise me. There's lots of things on this car which facile. You know, what should we do here? Or we just bash it out of the way, or we just weld a bit on here, and there's lots of sort of little almost bodge jobs. So I can improve some of this. There's some big hollows here. Knock some of those out, and it will still need a skimmer filler, but not the amount that was on it, that's for sure. Oh no, these are the Aron holes. So what these are these for? More, I think these are just extra number plate holes, possibly. I don't know. Right, so I'm going to get this to something like, and then I can work on this, because this, coming back to this panel here, I mean, we've got a flange, or a return flange there, and a return flange here. Then this bit just flaps around in the wind, which is pretty rubbish, really. So I think if I remake it, I'll continue this flange all the way around both ends here, just to stiffen that up. This is full of filler, and it was all cracked here because it was just flexing. And that'd be an interesting panel to make. Right, here's my plan. This one here, I can just about get a torch down there on the back of that bolt, and I think a stud extractor. We'll try that first, see what happens, and I think that'll come out, we'll see. And this one here, I'm determined to master TIG. I've got the poor man's TIG, which is a lift TIG. And that was my third attempt at doing that. But that will go in there. So cut that hole out. That'll do. I'm going to focus. There we are, that one's in. That one I can't do. I've run out of oxygen, so I'll have to get some oxygen to get that hot. I'll give it a soak for now. And I'm pretty confident that will come out, but we'll see. Right, trunk lid, boot lid. See what's going on here, and it's always exciting what you're going to find. I don't know if you can see here. We've got quite a few little dents there, downward facing. Then here we've got an upward facing. This looks like a little rust blister there. The bonnet's sitting, sorry, the boot lid's sitting too low, needs packing up. It's about 3 mil too low there. But the gaps are pretty good. So we'll get some paint off and see what that looks like. This white comes off quite easily. I don't think they keyed it into the. You can't see that, can you? I don't think they keyed it into the primer. I'm going to touch that up a bit. Looks like they've done a bare metal on this. There's no red. There's actually no etch primer either. Very thin. There's areas where there's no primer on, it's been rubbed through by the look of it. And that's where the white paint is stuck really well. Everywhere else it just comes off. That's all little scrape there. That middle section is just too tough to scrape. But we've got this line here. I mean, that looks like it's been masked. It goes all the way along. But that's been primed and this hasn't. So there doesn't seem to be any primer under that. And down here we've got an extra layer of primer and some filler. There's also lead in here. I scraped it and you can see the lead showing through. I wanted to sand that off. Day 2, can't remember where I was up to, so probably repeating myself. All the paint's off here now. I've been over that with the DA. We've got some tiny little spot dents here and here, but the whole car is gouged like that. Somebody's taken the old paint off at some point. It's something way too aggressive. But I think primer filler will cover that. Of course, this is just spot welded to the inner structure. It's not lipped over. So this lead here, I think, is just to cover the spot welds. A couple of tiny little areas where rust is showing through. And I think if I dot those in and lead them, and then from the back soak it in Dinatrol or something, those will never come back. I think that'll be fine. So this captive, let's look at this panel here. It must have had a shunt at some point, because this is like a steel drum now. dented everywhere, and I think I can get it better than that. I didn't need that much filler in it, although I will skim it. There's a structure behind here, which there's no sign of that being moved. So it's just the upper panel here. So I'll beat that into submission. So I'm going to get this out here. Put some light on that. And that's it's a fairly small stud, maybe an M5 or something. And if we look inside the boot, we're upside down now. And there we are. You just see it down there. I bent this flange back a little bit. So a torch on there, and if I can wind it in or out, we'll be there. Right, I don't know if I can quite reach that from here. Right, I can't grab it from there. If you look at this, it's so focus. That captive nut is so wobbly in there. Come on. I'm just going to cut that out from the front. I mean, it's nearly out, and I'll replace that captive from the front and weld a little patch over it. Yeah, I guess these, where's the thing? I guess these were M5. I'm going to try and upgrade that to M6. And there's just tiny little squares there. And it might actually fit that cage. And if I can open that cage, it's not welded on the top, just on the sides. And maybe I can drop this in from inside. I think I made the hole too big now. Although that wouldn't fall out. No, I've not got room to get that in. Right, I'm going to drill out these spot welds holding that cage on, really. Maybe I should have done that as my first thing, really. And then I could have just welded a new cage on. Got a bigger drill through that. I'm sort of getting into this TIG. And as you saw, that was a square nut, and I just fusion welded, just melted the corners off the nut. And what makes a big difference, I mean, the glasses I wear are just for close-up stuff. I normally wear it 2 times, they're just magnifiers. But I found for TIG, if I use 3 times, you can get much closer because it's a really fine arc. And that helps a great deal. So I should drop that in behind there, make these holes a bit bigger, and just plug weld that into place. And I previously marked across where the centre is, so I can line it all up. There we are, just plug weld that in. Before I fit it, a good blob of grease, and that should be fine. Okay, let's have a look at rear lights. It's a pretty awful design. You've got this knife edge here, which is supposed to sit on a gasket flush with that, and it's a pretty poor idea, really. But this one sort of fits okay. It needs pushing in a bit here, but there is a little kink in it there. That needs squeezing in. That one's okay. This one's got a dent in it here, and it's tight here. So I think if I trim that back, I can get that to fit okay. But of course, I've got no gaskets. I'm gonna have to make something. And it just sits on, there's a tiny little step there. So you've got to make this match that. And I guess these are all different, and these are all different. So trying to match them is not easy. All right, this is the worst one. This edge is all wavy. It looks like it's been pounded a bit here, and it's got this dent in it. Let's see if I can pop that out a bit more. I've got a punch here. If you haven't got the right specialist punch, you can make one out of a kitchen door handle, which is what this is. I'm not sure that's actually moving. This side bit I can't really get to. Well, I'll just keep trying to knock this out and see if that pops out a bit. I'm surprised how well that's coming out, actually. That would almost sand out now. Just try and get it a bit better. I think that's as good as it gets from me. Sand that up and polish it. And there is a crease in there which won't come out with polishing, I don't think. I'll just give that another little go. I think I'm pretty much there for me. Well, that's it for today. I'm going to put all these bits of video together. So I'll bash this one into shape. There's a bit of cardboard in there, simulating a piece of rubber. It's really difficult to get this to line up with the body. That's pretty good. This one's still got to be done. There's the dent I knocked out. This is the one that needs trimming, going upside down now. Actually, let's go the right way up. So it sort of fits there, and then it way overlaps there. So I'll trim that back to suit.